I'm going to show you how to find the inverse of a 3x3 matrix using row operations on a graphing calculator. So when we want to find the inverse, you want to include the identity matrix. So instead of a 3x3 matrix, okay, I've set up a 3x6. So I'll show you that one. Just a random 3x3 connected with the identity matrix with the ones and the zeros. So if I get out of this, I can kind of show it to you a little bit better on this screen. So if I select matrix A that I just created, shows it all right here. So you can see the first three columns are our 3x3 matrix. The last three columns are the identity matrix. So we want to try to get the first three columns to replicate the identity matrix, and then the last three columns, whatever they end up being, is the inverse of our original. Okay, so starting off, I'm looking at this and I can see I can swap rows 2 and 3 to try to get that 1 to the bottom right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, going into matrix, going over to math, and I'm going to select row swap. Okay, so using the previous matrix, I am going to swap rows 2 and 3. Okay, and taking a look at our new matrix, I'm going to try to get the middle -3 into a 1, because that looks easiest to me. So I'm going to go back into matrix, go over to math, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to multiply the third row by -3 and add it to the second. So I'm going to choose this one that is multiply and then add. So I'm going to multiply by -3, like I said, to the previous matrix, specifically for row 3, and I'm going to add that to row 2. So now we can see we have that 0 in the middle. Looking at it further, let's see, I want to try to get the whole first column filled out correctly. So the top row, top column needs to be a 1. So in order to do that, I can multiply row 2 by a -1/4 and add that to it, so that I'm adding a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So same operation with multiply and then add. So I'm multiplying by a -1/4 to my previous matrix in row 2 and adding that to row 1. Okay, working my way down that first column, I'm going to change the -4 into a 0. And I can see that I can do that by multiplying the first row by a 4, adding that to the second one. So again, the same row operation of multiplying and adding. Okay, and now to get the 3 to be a 0, I do the same similar operation. Now I'm going to multiply the first row by a -3 and add it to the third row. Okay, and now you can see we have the first column all the way filled out correctly. Alright, so moving on to the second and third one. Looking at what seems easiest to me, I'm going to try to just start with the 0 in column 2. So I'm going to multiply row 2 by -1/4 to cancel out with the +2 and a -2. And now to get the second row, second column to be a 1, I can just simply add the 8 and the -7 together. So combining rows, we can do that as well. So going into matrix, still in math, there is a row add button. So for the previous one, I am going to combine rows 3 and row 2, and it's going to end up being placed in row 2, the last number I put on there. Yep. And now just to get rid of that -7, okay, I'm going to multiply row 2 by 7 and combine them together. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 7 for row 2 and combine to row 3. Now we have the first 2 columns all filled out. So now working on the last column here. I'm going to try to start eliminating those 1.25s or those 5/4. Now you do need to do a little bit of math here to see what we're multiplying by. But I'm going to multiply by 5/24, I believe is what it is, to the -6. Let's just go ahead and add it to row 2. Doesn't really matter which one you do first. Yep, and so now I have that 0. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing to eliminate the 1.25 in row 1. Okay, I just have to make sure I select the right one. So again, multiplying that -6 by the 5/24, and now adding that to row 1. So we have all zeros there. Yep, and now the last one is to change -6 into a +1, so I can just multiply that by a -1/6. So there is an operation of just multiplying by a -1/6 to my previous matrix for row 3. In doing that, we can see you have the identity matrix in the first three columns, and the last 3 columns are going to be your inverse. So you can scroll over to see what those are. All right, and that is your answer. Okay, those last 3. Let's see, I'm not sure if you're able to change those into fractions. Let's test it. So if we go to math and we go fraction, let's see if it will change all of those to fractions. It did. Perfect. So now you can see it simplified in fraction form with the last 3 columns.